Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
The genius. I love this man. I love him dearly. The amazing attorney, Alan Dershowitz, down, he's on vacation. Alan Dershowitz, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just read the new disclosure from the Epstein files, and it totally, completely exculpates me. It has the woman who falsely accused me telling the FBI in 2011 when they first interviewed her that I was not aware of anything. Not aware. Dershowitz, not aware. No accusations, nothing, just not aware. And that's now in the Epstein disclosure. So, I always wanted everything to be disclosed. I wanted their videotapes. I want everything because I did absolutely nothing wrong. From the day I met Epstein, I never had any sexual contact with anybody but my wonderful, darling wife, who you know.
Yes.
And so, I was a victim. I was falsely accused. And a lot of these people who claim to be victims, they call themselves survivors, victims, they were actually perpetrators. They were going around soliciting young women for Epstein, bringing them to Epstein, getting paid $150 or $200. They are co-conspirators, and yet they're called victims. They're called survivors. Maybe they were victims, but they were also perpetrators. So I'm hoping everything comes out. I want to see everybody who's culpable blamed, but everybody who is a victim, like me, a victim of a false accusation, I want to see us all exculpated, vindicated, and apologies coming from those who made the false accusations. And I won't rest until that happens.
Well, I agree. And there are still a lot of people very, very upset about the whole Epstein file thing. Again, You've been exonerated. President Trump, too. They did arrest, arrest Prince Andrew in London yesterday, not because he did something towards you, not yet at least, with one of these underage women, but because there was some back and forth communication between him and Epstein. And somebody put on the internet, well, that's great, but what about the other billionaires? So there's still a very, very large percentage of this country, Alan, that believes that there's this big pedophile ring and a lot of very important people, not you, not the president, but a lot of very important people involved in this, in and around this, and they want to see blood. I think, they want to see Pam Bondi and this administration go out there and start to make some real arrests.
And, what they want is people arrested. They don't care if they're guilty or innocent. And what they've created a new thing. It's called the Billionaire Epstein Pedophile Class. And it's all anti-Semitic. It all is with this new Epstein pedophile billionaire class is the new elders of Zion. And there have been a number of people who've said, well, they're all related to Israel. They're all Mossad agents. It's all blatant anti-Semitism. Epstein was a horrible, horrible man, but none of us knew it. He disguised what he did very, very well from everybody, from professors at Harvard, from politicians. And in this new disclosure that I just got, they show pictures to this woman of everybody. And she identifies some people she never met, some people she never heard of, some people, maybe this one did this one did that. But there's no pedophile ring of any kind. And remember, that he pleaded guilty to having sex with a woman who was 17 and 10 months old, 17 years and 10 months old. In other words, if it happened in New York, he would not be a pedophile because in New York that's legal. In England, that's legal. In Florida, it wasn't legal. So somehow he's a pedophile in Florida, but not a pedophile in New York, not a pedophile in England. The whole thing is way. He was terrible. He did horrible things. But the whole thing about this massive conspiracy plot of everybody with billionaires all over the place, it's way overblown. And it's been turned, as I said, into something very anti-Semitic.
Talking about anti-Semitic, I had a nice conversation with Julie Menin a couple of days ago. She's the speaker for the city council, and it was about the mayor, talking about anti-Semitic, his idea to raise property taxes. If the governor doesn't raise taxes, Alan, he wants to raise property taxes about 9.5%, which, of course, we know for folks who are not millionaires and billionaires, crippling for these folks. So I had Julie Menin on the program, and we had a great conversation. She explained that the buck stops with her, that the mayor can't do it without her approval, and she can stop it if she wants to. And it was all good.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, all these people that work in and around the mayor, right? Could have been him himself, I don't know. But certainly people in and around him, they reach out to Julie. Much like they did to Jessica Tisch last month, they had a very public dinner with the police commissioner, and people went nuts. But when the press went to Jessica Tisch and asked for a comment, she said, no comment. Julie Menin, the speaker, had the same opportunity yesterday when the Mamdani people and all the supporters went nuts. And she said that she condemns my Islamophobic rhetoric. What are your thoughts on that?
You don't have any Islamophobic rhetoric. You just tell the truth. And if the truth is painful, and you never, as far as I know, attack the religion, you attack the abusers of the religion, the people who misuse Islam, a wonderful religion, and misuse it in order to create anti-Semitic attacks against Jews. So I'm always going to be defending you, and I don't have to agree with everything you've said, but the idea of calling you names like that is terrible.
Right. All she had to say was, I don't agree with Sid, and something to that extent, but using that word, of course, really made it a heck of a lot worse. And here we are just a couple of days removed, Alan, from Spike Lee. We had this one Israeli all-star. There's only one, Denny, right? And Spike Lee, who goes to 1 million basketball games a week. And this thing started October 7th of 2023. He had ample opportunity to wear something to show his support for the Palestinians. He never, ever did. But he picked last Sunday because there was an Israeli all-star out there to wear that garb. And then he has the nerve, after I killed him, he's got the nerve to come out and say Denny's appearance had nothing to do with it. Come on, Alan.
No, of course. Look, there's no question in my mind that this guy doesn't like Israel. This guy doesn't like Jews. This guy, has made a fortune off exploiting the suffering of his own people. And, he's a despicable human being. And the idea that he would exploit his support for the New York Knickerbockers, many of whose fans support Israel, by deliberately, provocatively wearing anti-Israel clothing. It's not pro-Palestinian. It's anti-Israel clothing. I mean, this guy next season is going to be wearing a Hamas outfit, and he's terrible. I used to play baseball against him on Martha's Vineyard. We used to have a Sunday morning baseball game, and we would all come, dressed with chinos and shorts and whatever. He would come fully garbed in a uniform, with spikes and the baseball pants and the hat, and mostly he would strike out and make errors. But he was always a big shot. And boy, I have to tell you, people might not like me on Martha's Vineyard, but they're going to like him because on Martha's Vineyard, there's so much anti-Israel feeling, and he plays into that. Does he even know where Palestine is? The guy is, again, one of these Hollywood idiots who knows nothing about anything except what he's doing. and suddenly he's become the poster child for anti-Israel. And, you don't mix that with an all-star game, except if you want to diss the Israeli all-star. And clearly that was intended, and clearly he now feels embarrassed about it. And I would hope that, when he goes to Knick games next year, Knick fans will start booing him loudly and maybe make it uncomfortable for him to go to Knick games, because he's the one who's turned his going into Knick games into something political. So now he has to pay the political price for that. And if I go to a Knick game next year and I see him, I'm getting up and I'm booing loud and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, says who? Says who? Says who? Says that little punk? No. We support Israel. We don't support Hamas and the people who would kill Jews. No.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.